Welcome to the fifth video in the series and final one in Know Your Worth. You spend a long time letting the wrong voices answer the question of who you are. The voice of what you lost, the voice of what you've done, the voice of what you could not hold together no matter how hard you tried, the voice of everyone who decided your value before you were old enough to disagree. And somewhere along the way, you stopped questioning those voices and you started living inside their answers. Today, that changes because there's a voice that outranks every voice that has ever spoken over your life. And he's not interested in what they said. He already knows what he says. And what he says about you has never changed. Not when you failed, not when you fell, not when you could not find your way back. He called you daughter. He called you royalty. He said the king deserves your beauty, not your performance, not your history, not your cleaned up version of yourself. Listen to this from Psalm 45, verse 10 and 11. He said, listen, O daughter, consider and incline your ear. Forget about your own people also and your father's house. So the king will greatly desire your beauty. Because he is your Lord, worship him. That is not a suggestion. That is a declaration, and it was written for you. Psalm 45 is a love song, a wedding song written by a king and his bride. And tucked inside this ancient poem is one of the most powerful declarations ever spoken over a woman. The writer turns his attention from the bridegroom, which is at the beginning of the psalm, to the bride, and what he sees stops everything. He does not describe her by her history. He does not define her by her past. He does not measure her by her output or her performance or her survival. He simply says, the king's daughter is all glorious. All glorious, not partially glorious, not glorious when she gets it together, not glorious after she has earned it, all glorious right now as she is because of whose she is. Now, I wanted to walk you through three things the psalmist says to this bride, and hear them not as demands, but as invitations. Because the king who paid everything for his bride does not speak to her with coercion. He speaks with the confidence of a love that has already proven itself. First thing, he paid the bride price. Before we go any further, I need to establish something because everything else in this teaching rests on it. The bridegroom has a right to speak over his bride because he paid the bride price for her. Now, this is not something we in the Western world know much about. But in the ancient world, the bride price was everything. It was the declaration of a woman's worth. It was what a man was willing to give in order to have her. And the higher the price, the greater the declaration of her value. 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 20 says, you were bought with a price. Not a small one, not a convenient one that cost him, which is Jesus, everything. He paid with his life, and that means your worth is not measured by what you have lost. It is not measured by who chose you or who did not. It is not measured by what you can produce or how well you can manage or what you survived. Your worth is measured by what he paid, and he paid everything. And this is not a cliche. That is the most concrete measurement of worth that exists. When you want to know what something is worth, you look at what someone was willing to pay for it. And God looked at you with your losses, your rejections, your labels, your history, and said, she is worth everything I have. That is where your worth lives, not in their hands, but in his. Now, there are three appeals here. The first appeal is in this verse that we just read. Forget your father's house. Listen, O daughter, consider, incline your ear. Forget your own people and your father's house. Now, he's not asking her to dishonor her past. He's asking her to stop deriving her identity from it. Stop going back to the old address for your sense of self-worth. Stop letting where you came from define where you're going. Stop measuring your worth by the standards of a house that did not always see you clearly, because we know that. We've grown up in homes that, our self-worth was pretty much shredded by our parents sometimes, or even our siblings. Some of you have been going back to your father's house for years, not physically, but emotionally, still seeking approval from voices that withheld it, still measuring yourself by standards that never built on your value, still waiting for a verdict from people who were never qualified to give it. He is saying, leave the house, leave that house. You belong to a new family, and this family measures you differently. Now, the second appeal in that verse is, give him your affection, so the king greatly desire your beauty. Did you hear that? The king greatly desires your beauty. The word greatly desire means he covets it. He's passionate. He's enthralled, not by a performance you gave, and not by a role you filled, and not by what you produced for him, but by you. He's enthralled by you. Your very presence pleasures him. I want you to take a moment and breathe that in. My very presence pleases God. Wow. In Song of Solomon, verse 4:9, it says, you have ravished my heart, my sister, my spouse. You have ravished my heart with one look of your eyes. God is so passionate. He's passionate about you, not the version that has it all together, because none of us does, not the version that is no longer broken. You, right now, in this season, with this history, he greatly desires your beauty. And I know sometimes that's hard to take in because we don't see beauty in ourselves, because everybody around us said otherwise or treated us otherwise, and we began to believe that. But he says he greatly desires your beauty. The third appeal, give him your reverence, because he is your Lord. Worship him, not a Sunday affair, a lifestyle. You worship him in your attitude on Monday morning. You worship him how you treat the people you live with. You worship him so completely that you become the worship. And here's what that means practically. When you stop performing for the approval of people and start living for the audience of one, everything changes. Your worth is no longer subject to their verdict. Your identity is no longer hostage to their opinion. You are free because the only one whose assessment of you actually matters has already spoken, and his voice carries all authority. The king's daughter is all glorious within. All, not partially, not conditionally, not eventually, all. And notice where the glory begins, within, inwardly, in the hidden person of the heart. That is the most important thing I will say in this entire video. So I need you to stay with me. Now, glory is not something you were born with. Our first parents were clothed in it in the garden, but when they sinned, they lost it. And every woman since has been trying to recover it through performance, through relationships, through achievement, and through survival. But here's the truth. Glory is not recovered through doing. It's received through belonging. When you're born again, the glorious one, Jesus Christ, comes and resides within. And now you are being changed from one dimension of glory to another dimension of glory, into his image. Not by trying harder, not by performing better, but by gazing at him. We cooperate with him by gazing on him, and he begins to transform us into his glorious image. When two people are in love, they talk to each other. They want to spend time in each other's presence. You know that when you had your first boyfriend, or whatever, girlfriend, you all you do is spend time on the phone talking. You just want to be with each other all the time. You could even find them just looking at each other, and the longer you look at him, the more you look like him. That is the king's daughter, glorious. Glorious because not of what she achieved, but because of who she has been gazing at, the glorious one. And you become like what you behold. If he's glorious and you spend time gazing at him, guess what? You are a recipient of that glory as well. She's all glorious within, a heart adorned with his character. She's clothed in his righteousness, not in her own, which is as filthy rags, but his righteousness. She is brought before the king in robes of many colors. That psalm is just a beautiful psalm, Psalm 45. So take some time to read it. We're just quickly picking through some things within these verses. And she's brought before the king in robes of many colors, splendor, honor, majesty. And when people see her, they should be able to tell who her king is because she reflects him. I want to bring you back to where this playlist, these videos started. We started with a woman on a road broken, renamed by her pain. She called herself Mara, bitter. She left her losses write her identity. We met a woman who performed her way through 4 pregnancies trying to earn a love that never came, whose sense of self-worth was shredded by rejection. We met a woman who was busy producing for Jesus that she had stopped being present with Jesus, who had quietly tied her worth to everything she could do and could not stop doing. We met a woman whose entire identity was her function, whose name in the world was her profession, who had been reduced to what she could give and what others could take. And now we are here, the king's daughter, all glorious within, not defined by her losses and not measured by who chose her, not valued by her output, but not labeled by her survival. She's just all glorious within because she gave up her old name to take his, because she left her father's house and took his name. And when I say his, I mean God's, capital his. Because she stopped looking for worth in the places that could never give it and turned her full attention to the one who paid everything to have her. And that is you. Not who you are becoming, not who you will be when you finally get it together, when you get it right. You are right now in him. The king is enthralled by your beauty. He greatly desires you. He paid the bride price. He gave you his name. He clothed you in his righteousness. He declared you all glorious. And that's not a feeling, it's a fact. And no loss, no rejection, no label, no history can change what the king has declared over the woman he paid everything for. Who can say anything bad about her? They could say, but it doesn't hold truth. It doesn't hold true, as we would say. In some places, it doesn't hold water because the king has spoken about you. Your worth is measured by what he paid, and he paid everything. So we have just completed the full series on Know Your Worth. And if you've watched all 5 videos, I want to say something to you directly. You did not find this channel by accident. Something in you was ready to stop answering to the wrong name, ready to stop performing for worth that was already yours. Imagine trying to perform for something that's already yours. Trying to pay for something that has been given to you. That's crazy, but that's how we have been functioning. That's how I functioned. Ready to stop performing for worth that was already yours, ready to receive what the king has been trying to give you. Yeah. Now, the next step is a soul journey assessment link that you will find below. It is the beginning of a conversation, not about who you have been, but about who God says you are and where he is taking you. And if you're ready to go deeper, there is a monthly devotional that it's subscription Encounters at the Well that you can also join. And that link will be inside of the description. It's a space for encountering him, to keep gazing on him, to keep becoming who he says you are. And both links are in the description. You're not just your losses. You're not who losses named you. Not what works defined you. Not the label survival handed you. You are the king's daughter, and you're all glorious within. And don't let anyone tell you otherwise. So God bless you, beloved. A joy to share this series with you. Take it and go over it and over it and over it. And be sure to avail yourself to the resources that are in the description. God bless you.